Welcome to welcome to episode 7 of Car Talks on Frantic FM. One of these days I'll create an intro, do all this special shit. But slow motion is better than no motion, right? Right. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting morning. Interesting day. Another dark, gloomy day. But woke up early enough on the way to the gym, getting the fuck after it. But today I wanted to talk about being incredibly fucking poor. Like, comedically poor. When I was a little baby, when I was a little baby, my parents worked 10, 12, 15-hour days. My mom and dad said they've worked 20-hour days, which I don't even know that's fucking possible. But anyway, parents are never home. Never could, never really saw them unless they switched, my dad switched jobs or anything like that. But it was mostly babysitters, or when my brother was old enough and they didn't have to spend the money, they just had him watch me. But if you know brothers, especially young brothers, that can get a little sketchy, and I was knocked out a few times. Some as direct fucking roundhouse kicks from my own brother. And that totally explains why I am the way I am. But yeah. Well, my parents still, they worked a lot. We didn't have a fuck ton. We couldn't buy all the new toys and all this bullshit. But they did the best we can. They could. We were never really hungry unless they just didn't have time to go to the store. And, my mom genuinely tried to make us as happy as possible. And her sole focus was literally to buy a house. And then we finally did. Things went from there. But after the divorce, when I was between 10 to 12, because I always thought I was 12, but that doesn't match up with the timeline either. Between 10 to 12, my parents got a divorce. And no, I had to have been 12, because that was when the courts allowed me to make the choice. So my parents stuck out a very shitty marriage for me to be old enough for me to choose, because they both wanted me. They both wanted me very, very badly, and all their physical arguments turned into who's gonna get me in the fucking divorce. And that's a lot of pressure to put on a 12-year-old kid. I do not agree in no shape or form that a 12-year-old should make a decision that changes the course of their fucking lives. Because I was walking on razor thin margins. I could see myself turning into a piece of shit quite easily. Literally within a few decisions, a few words, I could be a completely different person. And I've told my dad that. Some of the shit that he found out that I was doing, that I did, people I was with, you don't know how close I was. And thankfully, I'm so blessed that something was watching over me, someone was watching over me, something was instilled in me to to just not make those few decisions. But after the divorce, we moved like 20-30 minutes away, but my dad tried to keep his job, and I wanted to stay at the same school. So they were trying to create with this like co-parenting plan, and overall it did not work. Just did not work. And my dad thought it would be a good idea, because we went from city, where I knew I had a bunch of friends, went out every single day, super skinny, super active, to middle of East Bumblefuck, and all new school, all new friends, or no friends. The fuck? And yeah, so I stayed inside. Me and my brother split an Xbox. We traded our 2 Xbox 360s for an Xbox 360 Slim, the one you didn't have to plug into an Ethernet and all that shit. Well, that truck's in a hurry. But he got the Xbox in the divorce. I was quite sad. My dad tried to make it up to me by buying me a Wii and Call of Duty Black Ops, the first one. And I had like a little, instead of like, everyone thinks I pointed the fucking remote to aim. No, I had like this little, I forget what they called it, but it was like a legit controller that you just plugged into a Wii remote. Spent many hours, but I gained a lot of fucking weight, because my dad knew I was upset, and the one thing he could give me was food. And shortly after we moved and the divorce was settled and all that, my dad lost his job, and right after that, the doctors were worried that the hernia that he had was about to fucking burst. So he had a surgery for that. Couldn't find any other job after that, and we were really fucking struggling. Like, we took a lower apartment because it was cheaper rent. My dad doesn't make the best financial decisions. He got like all this furniture and shit from Rent-A-Center. Just fucking pissed away all that money because he had to give it all back because he couldn't pay it. So we had little to no furniture. I literally had to, we had no food, no gas, no anything. I literally had to sell my Wii, like the one thing that brought me any sort of joy. I had to sell. And my dad was like trying to make me feel better. He's like, we're just gonna pawn it. They should give us like $100 pawning it, and I'll get it back out. Couldn't pawn it because it wasn't worth that much. They bought it because they knew we needed money. They literally gave us $20 for the Wii and everything. And the Wii was literally like, I thought I was pawning it. So, I mean, I had friends. It was like 2 or 3 friends that I played with every single day. And we talked for hours. We played for fucking countless hours. And I had this little shitty laptop that we would go on Skype and all that, like, and then I thought I was spawning my Wii. So I was like, okay, I can still talk to them. Ended up selling it right then and there. I about bursted into tears. Like, I started tearing up in the pawn shop. And I would never forget this. On the way there, my dad, because I always wanted Sonic, and my dad was thinking we were going to get a lot more money than we did for the Wii. He was like, I promise we'll go to Sonic and I'll get you whatever you want. because I never had it. And we got $20. And my dad felt so fucking bad. So bad. And I didn't want to speak. I didn't want to do anything. And he pulled into Sonic. He's like, just get whatever you want. I promised that I would get you whatever you want. Just get whatever. I found the cheapest fucking thing at Sonic. It was like a $4 corn dog. It was like just... It was a $4 corn dog. And I told him not to go because like we only had fucking like $25. And he insisted, and he got me a $4 corn dog. And dude, I was crushed. And it was just insult to injury because it was like I just sold my Wii and we're spending like a quarter of it on a fucking corn dog. Dude, I was so mad. I was so mad. And just sad. Like it was bad. Like I don't know if anyone's ever gotten so sad over a Wii, but I was upset. But I mean, we were living off of like chili and like spaghetti and like cheap ass cereal and shit. Just eating as much as I could at school. Like I never went hungry. But life at home was very, very bad. And there's so many stories I could say. But eventually, my dad met someone. They were talking. They knew each other when they were younger. And they rekindled over like Facebook. So they started talking. And our landlord fucked us over. Because in the divorce, my dad got like $5,000, but he wanted to make sure that we always had somewhere to live, so he gave like half of it to our landlord, so we prepaid, and he had money, like a little bit of money saved up, but we prepaid for like a year and a half, and 8 months in, or something like that, 6 to 8 months in, he's like, yeah, you're behind on rent. I was like, no, we're not. Like, we came home to a letter on the door saying we were being evicted. I was like, we paid you. I was like, what the fuck? And all this shit, my dad gave him the last bit of money that we had to keep us into a place. He's like, all right, I won't go to court, you'll be fine. Turns out, went to court, got us evicted. And like, so we had like a fucking week to figure out where we were gonna live. Had absolutely no money, absolutely no fucking money to our name. Thankfully, we had very little furniture to find a place for. And thankfully, the girl that my dad was talking to became my stepmom later on, but we were gonna move in there. Mind you, this is like, he kicked us out right before Thanksgiving and the whole holiday season, which was just more insult to injury. She was taking care of her dad, my stepmom Angie. She was taking care of her dad at the time. He was living with her, and he absolutely refused for my dad to come in. He said he would never let a child go homeless, so he let me stay, but absolutely refused for my dad to go over and live there. So that was a fucking whole debacle. And for months, I didn't go to school because no one knew what the fuck was happening. And she had 2 daughters, became my stepsisters. But we were semi-close to age. One was 3 years older than me. One was 6 years older than me. At least I had someone to talk to now. Because I was so depressed in that fucking apartment when it was just me and my dad after the Wii sold. Looking back, there was very, very, very clear signs of depression. Like, later on, when I was in high school, I found out that one of the huge signs that I was exhibiting was random bursts of laughter. I mean, it would be pitch dark in my room, and I'm going through all these thoughts, and I would just start laughing, and I could not stop fucking laughing. No joke. No, like, fucking belly hurting laughing for 20, 30, 40 minutes. Like, I'm in fucking pain, tears coming out of my eyes. And I'm not laughing out of joy, like, I'm literally so fucking sad. And I had no idea why I was laughing. My dad thought I was going fucking crazy. Which in a way I was. But yeah, ever since I always say, like, you let a 12-year-old choose between financial stability and financial turmoil. And I picked turmoil. Because I genuinely didn't know what was going to happen to my dad. I knew my mom had my brother. I knew they were going to be fine. But I didn't know about my dad, so I stayed with him just to know that he was okay. And that set the course of my entire life. And after we moved in with Angie, it was just a slow trickle down because she didn't want him to work because of his injuries and jealousy and all that shit. She was the only one working. She was an alcoholic at the time, and she was gaining health issues, getting on more medication, was not agreeing with the alcohol, so she had to quit alcohol, and that started a slew of things. Eventually started having seizures, lost her job, and it was just a fucking pushing a boulder down the hill. My dad was still in the process of getting, like, disability, going through all the steps, seeing a bunch of, like, doctors and specialists, and trying all this experimental medication, all this shit. And it was terrible. It was fucking terrible. Absolutely nothing. And moving around, getting fucked over, like, every step of the way. By landlord, by friends, by like, her family. I haven't talked to my mom in years by this point. Until finally my dad got approved for disability. Starting to try to get back on her feet. And then Angie got on disability finally, and, like, starting to make headway. But neither one of them were working. Both absolutely depressed and just making the dumbest decisions. And, like, me as a kid, I was seeing, like, stop making the same mistakes. But I was a kid. I was, like, 13, 14, 15 years old. And I'm noticing what they're doing, and I'm noticing how fucking stupid it is. And they kept getting more and more upset with me because I was turning out to be right. But they were also too prideful to go back. And it was a mess. And that created a bigger and bigger wedge between me and my parents. And then we finally moved into funny enough, the house I'm living at now. And that was where everything kind of like solidified. And over the course of time, I was like a compulsive liar, because I went to like 10 schools in 6 years. So I got in the repetitive pattern of, oh, I'm not going to know these people in a couple months. So I just said whatever I wanted. I mean, just absolute either disrespect, off the wall fucking jokes, just lying to them. It was a fucking mess. And after we moved into this place, the friends I made in school, funny enough, I moved into like the same neighborhood as them, and it's funny because we make jokes that I was like the last addition to the friend group, because it was a group of like 8 people, 8 kids that fucking grew up since elementary, middle school together. And I kind of joined the summer before high school, and we were all close. We were all like, we're brothers. And I was like, oh, I can't lie to you guys. And as soon as I moved into there, I was always outside. And then I started working. I started driving. My parents were relying on me more and more. And every time I would give them money, they would make the same dumbass mistakes. And I just couldn't take it anymore. It was like I was working my ass off. I was doing all these things. Getting like high honors in high school.